Following podcast has been edited to meet industry standards. Special thanks to J.J. Childers and Bryce Kittinger. They were there from the start to finish. I have to think I'm going to have to start listening to Bryce's sermons and make some positive comments. I asked him the other day if he stood by his comments on Facebook, and he said the podcast was awesome. JJ's portrait shows up at various locations. Sometimes it's in the commode, and sometimes it's in my office. No matter, I always put 2 thumbs up every time I go by his picture.
An octogenarian birthday. Herb Lair will become an octogenarian on Tuesday. For those of you who are not sure what an octogenarian means, look it up. Happy birthday, Herb.
Now, a few weeks ago, I had an opportunity to go to Pepperdine. Brag. I had an opportunity to go to Pepperdine for a few days for a conference. But before I could even get to Pepperdine, I got some bad news. I had some stuff happen in my life that just kind of rattled me a little bit, literally like on I-40. Like going to the Memphis airport, I was in a mood where I was anxious.
No doubt it had to do with his beloved Kentucky Wildcats.
Come to Jesus, just now. He will save you. He will save you. He will save you just now. Only trust Him. Only trust.
Also, I'd like to give a special shout out to Judah for accompanying his dad. Why does Bryce remind me of Drew Carey? Wow. Is it the haircut, the glasses, the general physique? Must be the smile. Now, if he can just do the come on down, boy, he'll have it made. Okay, my son Craig Lair he did arrive a little late, but he was in a supporting role. Reminders, I have a degree from the University of Arkansas, in fact 2, a BA and a master's. The others are pretenders. Note the Hall of Fame golf shirt supplied by Gary Adams. Okay, in the background at the podcast, you might have seen this. It says to Herb Digger Phelps, go Irish. And there's to Herb J. Billis, ESPN, from their earlier days. And then right next to that was a picture of the Mannings. It was Peyton Manning and Archie Manning. And then right next to that was another attorney, Alan Dershowitz. Maybe some of you remember him from the days of OJ. He is one of the Dream Team. Okay, next I guess in both their younger days, there's Robin Roberts, who's now on Good Morning America. At that time, she was working for ESPN, and that was at a cable show. And then next to that is Chris Matthews, hardball. Noted for his work at MSNBC. And then we'll give equal time to Fox. And there is old Neil Cavuto. I think Neil might have, I think he's lost a few pounds since then. I'm not sure about me, but Neil looks a little trimmer now. Okay, just one of a few hardback books that I have now. About everything else is digital, but JJ's been a good friend of the family, and always wanted to kind of keep up with him. And this is a nice book. You'll see on YouTube, he's done a lot of videos on this matter of real wealth without risk. Again, I usually try to bring something informational in each time, and one of the things I found that there was some doctors that we were having some issues, and my wife and I and a doctor said, let's go to Fayetteville and talk to someone over there. And so I went over there and I talked to him. I guess you'd call it psychiatrist. His title was neuropsychologicalist. And the thing there was his ability was to determine something like Parkinson's. He would say, the behavior and cognitive changes, and that's what his. But he didn't determine that. I didn't have the tremors like Michael J. Fox, and I think he just thought it was a mental or something else. So we kind of sit on that, and then I had some major back surgery, and that's when they put the titanium rod in, and then the doctor at UMS, and his name's Vermani, he was really thorough at that time, and I couldn't be convinced hardly that I had Parkinson's, but we went on through some tests, and I determined that. But it would have been really great if that doctor had connected the dots at that time. That's one of the reasons I want to do the video and do these things, is I want people to watch some of the patterns I've gone through, because it could be an issue later on, where people see this and say, well, I need to go have this checked a little bit better, because sometimes they just miss it, and that's what that doctor was supposed to be able to do. Doesn't matter as far as I just want to get it picked up on. And
you're a pro.
Yeah. Well, these are pretty neat. I mean, I found that in doing some of this, started out, it's a little different world, but the thing I wanted to do, and I wanted to start a little bit and tell. I did this about every podcast, is why I'm doing this and why it kind of came about. And when you talk about finding your happy place, I built it around the fact that my daughter has disabilities, but I was with a group of people in Harrison that were doing rock steady boxing, and a lot of those people had late stage disabilities with Parkinson's, and I found they had great stories to tell, and I wanted the stories to be told, but I wanted it to be something active. And I thought, when I got to looking at this, I wanted to be a podcast that we do some things, and we're working on things with speaking with intent. People start losing their voice a lot. You saw that obviously with Muhammad Ali, and then Tyson and all the other people. So we do a class on that, and I'm going to do a little introduction here, and I'm going to read it with a little more intent maybe at that point. And you can probably tell me if I'm doing it okay or not.
Yeah.
But it's done with people with disabilities, and particularly Parkinson. And I'm a little bit of a one-man band, as you can tell here, but it's nice to have you here because it's a little easier than trying to do it with Zoom. I know I had some issues. You didn't have issues, but last year was kind of funny. But the idea when I started putting this together is to provide some entertainment, but I also wanted to be informational and motivational.
Okay.
And we're sitting on some really tough bleachers here, I can tell.
Yeah.
So we want to get off the.
We definitely want to get off the bench here, don't we? Get in the game.
Yeah, and we want to be, and the inspiring content for people that's got anxiety and depression are the big things.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have anxiety and depression, that's one of the things I worry about. I got a picture somewhere. Yeah, up here. I was on TV over there, but in Hangzhou, which is outside Shanghai, and I was real surprised how big a studio it was, and it was really kind of just an entertainment type show. I mean, it wasn't what you'd think. I mean, I thought at that time it was a Johnny Carson, Ed McMahon type thing, and I was out there to taste
the food and of course I wasn't going to get it right, so they would make fun of that. But one of the things that's kind of interesting, maybe about my background, was that my first job out of college was at the CIA in Washington, and once I got into all this travel.
Here I am blending in. No one would notice me.
Some of the things about what's going on with the Razorbacks. Have you had any conversation with Calipari, or is no conversation, or nobody?
I wrote him to buy books for the players, but I didn't hear back with anybody. Put him on blast.
We're gonna get him off the bench.
Yeah, we need to get him off the bench in the game real quick on that one.
Well, what kind of advice would you give him if you ever talked to him? I mean, I
wouldn't give him any advice. No, he's coached long enough. He's a veteran. He knows the advice is get the best players.
Yeah,
guys are coachable, and hopefully they stay healthy.
Well,
win games.
And I know the history when you came over, or stayed in state, and the triplets basically were three players in state. And I know the history of the Razorback football, and it's pretty well had to have a core of Arkansas players. I don't see any Arkansas players in this group, and I don't know if that's going to mean anything, or if it's just the sign of the times. Or
if they can play, it means a lot.
Yeah. So if you find something
like Nick Smith with Arkansas, Joe with Arkansas, William from Arkansas, JoJo. We have some great players from the state of Arkansas, but it doesn't guarantee just because they're from the state.
Yeah. The AAU and the things, they kind of go out and play a lot of places.
Yeah, they do. They
do a lot of things different.
But it's always good, I guess we used to say, and this is going to be less of an issue moving forward with NIL and the transfer portal. It's no guarantee, even if you get a player from the state nowadays, that they're going to remain at Arkansas, because we've seen that this past year with the transfer portal. Guys want to play. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, they want to. They don't want to play. They don't want to sit on the bench.
They want to sit on the bench, and sometimes they're not good enough.
Yeah,
they need to sit on the bench.
And they have to go somewhere where they
have to go somewhere so they can play. And I think that's an issue that will become more prevalent. I think Calipari has it right when he said that you can only expect a year from guys, pretty much. It's a year to year with your players. Every year you're going to have to start this process over again because players now have more freedom of movement if they're not playing as much as they think they should be.
Well, so back in your day, did you see much money being paid to players, or was it just something that's pretty?
Well, if you were at Kentucky, I saw guys from Kentucky.
Kentucky,
Kentucky, they got horse races, thoroughbred horse races, and pieces of horse farms, and all that kind of stuff. They were notorious.
So you weren't tempted to go to
I was not tempted, but they got paid. At Arkansas, you had to be a football player to really get played back then.
Did you think basketball's harder than football to play? I mean, I just played, practiced around, but basketball, boy, you got to go up and down the floor.
Yeah, basketball, you're playing both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and you play it all the time.
You're playing offense, defense. You have to stay alert. You don't have breaks in between unless you're on the bench. Yeah. Otherwise, you have to just be ready to play the entire time. I think basketball is very taxing.
Yeah.
Taxing sport. Physically, no. Nothing like football.
I know.
That's a different level.
Now, you were kind of in the NBA at the end of Pete Maravich's time. Did you ever play against Pete? Or
I played against Pete, but he was
he was kind of at the end.
Right, he was at the very end.
Yeah, and then you had, of course, Michael Jordan. He came in, and he was pretty well a generational player. Although you had a lot of good players.
Magic was generational. Larry Bird was generational. Dr. J was generational.
Yeah.
Kareem, Michael was special. But we had a lot of great players during that 80s stretch.
Yeah.
That played in the NBA.
Yeah. Well,
a lot of good players.
The big buzz right now, of course, it's drawing the TV eyeballs, I guess, is Caitlin Clark. And have you been keeping up with her, or what's going on there?
No, I keep up a little bit with the headlines with the WNBA and college. Watched her play.
Yeah. The one thing that I was kind of pretty surprised at was when we were talking. I said, "Well, you walked, but do you ever run?" And you said, "No, you didn't run." And I guess I saw you were kind of having a little fast. pace than some of your walking now.
Yeah, I had a moment. We have our moments where we think we can do more than what we can do.
Yeah.
I had one last Sunday.
Did you?
Where I had a good pace walking and running.
Well, I saw a video.
2.5 miles.
So that you're getting close.
Yeah. Oh no, I can right now. I can actually jog. Not very far, but I can jog.
Well, when I remember the videos and stuff, that's what I remember, how fast you were up and down the floor. So it's kind of.
Well, with the hip replacement, it's been a little slower, and it's still painful. But when I did what I did on Sunday, I felt it on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I was kind of curious about, we talked about a couple of games. Of course, the one in New Mexico, Albuquerque, I think is when you beat UCLA, and that was when the triplets kind of came alive. And then later on toward the end, I guess it was the end, when you played Larry Bird and you got beat by kind of a crazy off the wrong foot and threw it up the wrong hand or something. But I was reading back on that, and Larry, you were covering Larry Bird, and he apparently didn't get the last shot like they thought they would. But you also said if there's any game in college that you'd like to have a do-over on, that would have been it. Is that still what you think about college, or as far as that game, or is that game?
Probably Kentucky though would be.
The year before in the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that was that. And do you think anything in particular about that game could have been done different?
Well, I got in foul trouble.
Okay.
So maybe I wouldn't foul so much the second time around. And it took away our ability to be aggressive and utilize our speed.
Yeah.
Because the game was slowed down by fouls.
As it turned out, Arkansas's aggressive defensive play got them into early foul trouble. Steve Shaw, the Razorback 6'11" center, already had 4 fouls with a little over 13 minutes to play in the first half. And his teammate, number 42, Jim Counts, another Arkansas big man, picked up his 4th foul with just under 4 minutes to go in the half. With their big men in foul trouble, Arkansas had to make some adjustments on defense. However, the Wildcats couldn't take advantage of that possible weakness and led at the half by only 2 points. So at times had only one man on the floor taller than 6'4". The Razorbacks were kept away from the boards, and finally, with 6 minutes and 19 seconds to play in the game, a crucial moment came. They lost their big man. Number 30, Steve Shaw, accumulated his 5th personal foul and had to sit out the rest of the game. However, instead of folding, Arkansas regrouped and fought back. Sidney Moncrief's layup cut Kentucky's lead to 4 points. Coach Joe Hall of Kentucky shaking hands with Coach Eddie Sutton of Arkansas. The Kentucky Wildcats would now play in the championship game of the NCAA tournament for the...
I'd heard that one thing was the doctor, is Dr. Counts or Dr.
Dr. Counts.
Counts, yeah. And that he was really good about the passing lanes, and in some way they got that kind of cut off or something. That was kind of a defensive thing that was kind of a factor in that game. I don't know.
And he got hurt that game, I think.
Did he? Okay, well.
There's a lot of things that went against us.
Yeah.
They were a good team, but we had a shot only if we could have utilized our speed and not play a slow down half court game as much. Contrary to what people think about Coach Sudden, so slow down, pass. He let us play however he felt we were able to play, which was, in our case, we played a pretty fast pace.
Yeah. Well, of course, I had a little bit of connection there. My high school coach was J.B. Dickey, and his son James Dickey, of course, was pretty well connected there through the years. And I was doing a little bit of a pitch for him coming in because he's up in West Virginia to do something with Calipari, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But he's got a lot of connections in this whole region, because I guess he's still in the Big 12 with West Virginia, but I know he's been going back and forth between there and still Oklahoma. He's home there, so I don't know what's ever going to happen there, but that was kind of an interesting thing too. I didn't know, for that, but one of the things I wanted to do, and I wanted to get kind of into your book. And I know we're going to try to do this within an hour, and I may have a couple of guys who might read it back. There's some books there if you want to borrow them. But you might look at parts of the book there and see if there's anything that you want to ask questions on, because what I wanted to do, start back to the coaches, and we saw this in Kansas City Chiefs, and of course they won the Super Bowl, but there were some things right on the field where there were players that were getting up in the face of the coach, Coach Reed, and that seems to be something that we see today, and I wanted to kind of contrast that with what you were talking about, as what we're seeing now, that sometimes it works, but it's probably not a good image. So
No, it's not a good image, but it's not a good image for coaches to overcoach.
okay, that's what you think might be happening sometimes.
Yeah.
They don't
You get too cute, or you try. Your best player should be in the game.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed. So when you try to get cute and put someone else in the game to create a illusion or deception, no. All he was saying was, I didn't agree with how he said it. All he was saying was, I'm one of your best players. I should be in the game. I should be in the game that play. And he was right. And I think the coach recognized that, yeah, I should have had him in the ball game. Yeah.
The smaller market, and you can say Fayetteville, and then you can say going to Milwaukee. What do you think would have been different? Or I know that you probably were happy with what happened, or you probably could have made some moves because of your talent. But do you think there's anything, if you reflect back on that, putting yourself out and maybe going into the bigger? There was a lot of people, I think, that came through Milwaukee and then went to LA or somewhere. But you feel like,
oh yes. If I had not been in Milwaukee, another coach might not have taken advantage of my inside scoring ability like Nelly did. He put me in a position to be successful. So I can't imagine being any more successful than I was at Milwaukee. Now all the other things, very few players get big tennis shoes endorsements and commercials. That's a limited group of individuals. But no, I don't see any.
So did you have any tennis shoe things when you were there?
Just minor.
Minor stuff.
Minor stuff.
Well, I was looking at the highest paid athletes now, and the I can't say his name. The guy from Milwaukee is one of the top, in the top 10. It's pretty big,
Oh, he's big. They have big numbers,
and they're getting money, I guess, to pay people like that now. And
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Ron Brewer was one. Joe Johnson was another one that you just had unique talent
right
in high school, and they looked like they were older, more mature, better basketball IQ than the players on the basketball court. Totally different.
Well, he had a lot of years, and I don't know, because he had some injuries, he ended up about 20 years, but about 16, 17 years where he was playing a lot.
Oh yeah, no,
and I just looked at the numbers, and you can run a thing on the internet and compare the players, and it was just how close you all were, just in the averages of everything there, and of course him being 3 inches taller and heavier, and you still were out rebounding it, because that was the thing that you always were able to do, is out rebound. So
and defense.
Yeah,
they don't show defense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they don't know.
They don't. Yeah, and
what do you have? You might have something you want to read, you think?
Well, I wanted to ask you about Coach Greenwood. You said listen to your leaders. Coach Greenwood making you wear that jacket.
Oh yeah. I spoke to him not long ago. I guess he saw something in me I didn't see, quite frankly, because he had me wear this. He had me do track, do high jumping. Okay, that didn't work out well. And then he put this weight jacket on me with some other bigger players, and we had to jog in the weight jacket, do a mile or whatever. Then in practice, I had to wear the weight jacket in practice, the entire practice, the weight jacket. And not only was it heavy, it didn't fit. Like now, the weight jackets are like really tight. They're not hitting your body. You don't know you have them on except the weight. That was flopping around, trying to rebound, trying to shoot. And I'm like, what the heck is he doing this for? What's going on? And what I said in my book is he was trying to, number one, get me stronger. And he knew if he got me stronger, I would have more confidence in my play. And sure enough, for that first year, I went from being like one of the worst players. I was maybe the second or third best player on that team. And it was because of what he did for me as a basketball player. Just timing is everything, right? The timing, the coaches. I've just been blessed with good coaches, just from junior high school all the way through the NBA.
I like what you said also about you have to be coachable. So you can have good coaches, but if you're not coachable.
Yeah, and when you're not coachable, when you really think you're a great player. Because great players, even in the NBA, you become uncoachable to some extent because you already know so much and you think you know so much, right? But you don't know as much as someone watching film every day and seeing all the flaws and all the ways you can take advantage. But what I find is people that are uncoachable in high school or college or junior high school, it's because along the way someone has told them that you're good. So why do you have to listen to anyone else? But with Coach Greenwood, during that time you had to listen to your coach. You didn't have an AAU team to run to. That was it. So if the coach said you're off the team, you're off the team. You know, you're not going to go to this AAU team to play for someone. You're not going to this intramural team. You're not playing basketball, period. It's a different type of pressure if you were a player when that held over you. So if the coach said jump, you said how high? Run through the wall. Which one? You're just trying to.
I want to talk about that. And if you all have some questions, we're going to give you a chance here in a minute. And if you want to look at a book or something, you can look
yeah.
So I've watched.
he's a
So this is a weird late 70s basketball question.
Okay.
So I've watched like the HBO Showtime Lakers show, and it looks like the NBA in the late 70s, early 80s was just like insane. But like from what I've seen with how you played, like you were so focused, and like I mean you're considered one of the best perimeter defenders in basketball. Like what I've seen, but how did you stay focused with all like the chaos that kind of was at least on TV presented that was going on in the early 80s?
Yeah, I tell you what was good. Early 80s was it's nothing more distracting than social media.
Yeah,
So
it's true. Yeah.
let's get that really clear and clean. Yeah. Well, these players today it's insane what they have to go through. But in the NBA in the 80s, you had the cocaine drug issue during that time, and serious drug issues, and then you didn't have the travel conveniences that you have now. You didn't have the meal prep. You ate whatever you ate.
Yeah.
Not that you couldn't afford to eat. But I think, let's go back to junior high school, focus.
Yeah.
Had to be. High school with Coach Elder was 3 years, focus. 4 years with Coach Eddie Sutton.
Yeah.
Same thing. It became a habit for me.
That's awesome.
To be locked in. But even as a kid, I was an aggressive kid.
Yeah.
I fought a lot, and I just like competed really hard. And I think it was partly how I grew up.
Okay.
I wasn't a bully or anything, but I defended myself a lot, and I loved to play football because it was aggressive. You were tackling people. You know, we didn't play flag football back then. You know? It was like tackle football. We even played tackle football in the street one time. Think about that. In the street, we played tackle one time.
One time.
I was scratched up like, no, we're not doing this again. And so I think everything I did growing up was about focus and toughness.
Yeah.
And then it was reinforced at Arkansas, at all high school, junior high school, and then the NBA. Well, I lock in, like when I said, okay, I'm writing a book. And I say, I'm going to write this book in 6 weeks or 4 weeks. It's done. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I've written, and they're simple books. I don't brag about the size of my books, but it takes a little bit of energy. I've written like 3 books in less than 2 years. And that was all because I had a thought. I had something I wanted to solve. I had something I wanted to get out to people. And I locked in and did the books and got it done. And that focus comes in again. Because all the other time, I'm just having fun with life. You know, in between, enjoying life. That's right.
All right, Cindy and Don, you got something? Yeah, I know you got something you want to ask.
I'm not good at asking questions.
Well, yeah, you're from North Carolina. He's got a North Carolina State.
No, it's Arkansas.
Yeah, well, I know you were out there though. You're a doc. He's a doctor. He's a doctor of bugs.
Entomology.
Entomology. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've been at North Carolina State,
Oh,
and
wow.
during that time I was there, I got to watch them the year they won the national championship the first time. It's 74 or 5.
74 or 5. Oh, you David Thompson team.
David Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
the short guy and the tall guy.
Right. Burleson.
Burleson and
Monty Tall.
Monty Town. He comes down in Louisiana.
See, I'm not even from North Carolina.
I left Arkansas, and I went to school. I graduated in '71 before your time, and Bobby Watts, I think, from Harrison played on the team.
Donnie Watts?
Donnie
Watts, yeah.
Yeah, he played on the team, and
I remember when I was in high school watching that team play, and I saw David Thompson. Maybe
he could jump.
I saw him. We were doing an autograph session in Chicago.
Yeah, we had a guy here. Well, we had one that signed it. So
Yeah, the backdrop to that cover, I was having knee problems my senior year. Into my entire senior year, I was having knee problems. And I didn't practice much because of the pain. And the team doctor gave me some exercises that I later found out contributed to the pain. I was like, he was giving me exercises that were not the right exercises. I was wondering why I wasn't getting better. But then when I get to the NBA, they tell me, what type of exercise? I showed them. They said, oh, you can't do that with this type of condition. But that cover, when I went up to dunk, I had a really sharp pain when I pushed off from Country Malaysia. And if you look at it, it's an expression on my face, and people say, "Boy, you really look intense." Blah 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 blah. And I started to guys, no, I was really in pain. I was really in pain when I went up for that dunk shot, and I didn't remember that until years later because I signed so many of the covers. Then I remember years later, I said, "Oh, that's right. You had the knee problem." And when you went up, I remember going up in a sharp pain, just locked in there, and I was like grimacing when I dunked the basketball. And so that was, the cover was pretty interesting.
well, I know that your I guess your book is Get Off the Bench. This bench here is pretty tough.
Yeah, it's a great example.
No, it's not like these cushy chairs that these people. But I think, and one of the ideas I had here was, of course, people with disabilities or seniors or other people that might not be motivated, and you could have unmotivated church members, I guess. If the preacher doesn't just stay right after them, or other people that's out there. I was wanting to let you give your best pitch. I know when you get focused on something, boy, you take off and you do it, and I know just being around you and just it gets me off the bench and gets me doing something. That's what I've been doing with this podcast that I've been doing, and other things that I said that there's a thing to get other people involved and what's your pitch? I mean, that's part of the book, and I just thought maybe we can kind of go through that as we kind of wrap up here.
I started thinking that there's so much that happens when you're involved in action, right? There's so many positive things that can happen. And a lot of times, as I say in the book, that sometimes people don't want to get off the bench because they're afraid of failure. They don't want to fail, right? And that's just part of life is failing. So when I wrote the book, it was like, I want something that will encourage people to get up and be involved, to impact others, and to live their best life. We talk about living your best life now. And the bench, I say in the workplace, the house, or in the game, there are people they're starters. There are the top 20% of the people in the workplace do, as we know, 80% of the work. And so they're the starters. And then you have people that are bench warmers, like I was. And they're bench warmers where they want to get off the bench, but they just need to improve their skill set to do that. And then you have people that are bench warmers, and they could care less about getting off the bench. They're frightened to get off the bench. They just want to let everybody do the work and just observe. And then you have the fifth type of people. You have the people that I call them sideline dwellers. And those are the individuals that should not even be wherever they are. They just want to cause conflict and problems, and they're sideline dwellers. They shouldn't even be in that family or in that game or with that company or whatever, or with that team. They're the people you want to get rid of very, very quickly. But most people want to participate and be a part of whatever's going on, be it in the workplace or at home or on a sports team. And I also talk about how you just have to, I want people to know you have to get better to do that. And you have to keep getting better. I use the example today is I went from junior high school being a starter, off the bench playing, and what happens when I go to high school? Back on the bench, because now I'm just a sophomore. So I had to get better, got better in high school, became a starter, All-American, blah, 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 blah. Go to college, what happens? You end up on the bench. So I had to take another level to get better, to get off the bench. Then I become an All-American in Arkansas, play well, do great things, blah, 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 blah. And then you get to the NBA, where do I end up? On the bench again. And I had to get better, get off the bench. So it's a continual process. If you want to be great at what you do, you have to just keep understanding that it's always someone. It's like training camp. When training camp starts and you are an NBA All-Star, how many players want to take your place? So if I just sat there pat and just didn't try to get better, which I actually stopped getting better at some point because I just didn't want to get better. I just didn't have the same commitment, and I had played too long and all those type of things. And when that happened, boom, my game, I just started going the other way. So get off the bench, get in the game. It's really a mindset, and everything that you do in your life, be it your family, a team, workplace, a church, whatever, a team, definitely. You just need to have that mentality to get off that sidelines. If it's going to be get off your blank, get in the game. And I had a discussion. Some people loved it. I had a discussion. I had a little group chat with some of my former teammates. And they said, "No, I don't think you should put that on there." So like, okay. So I just said, get off the bench, get in the game, because it's just a mindset.
Well, I know that one of the things you've kind of talked about with coaches, that they kind of saw your talent, and sometimes whoever the coach is and whoever the leadership is they've got to understand, maybe ask some questions and listen so that they understand. They may see in basketball or something, but they're in a workforce, or like I said, with people that are older or disability, sometimes you're sitting there and they may not ever get involved unless somebody else takes an interest and asks them questions.
Yeah. You got to push them. I had a group of high school kids that I go and do a lesson for them on entrepreneurship once a month. And yesterday we were wrapping it up. They were doing posters of what they want their future to look like, where they're going to graduate high school, where they're going to college, or where they're going to have their next job. And they kind of slop through it. Every week they slop through it. And yesterday was the day we gave out gift cards. And so they got a little focus. And I just kept pushing them. They would have something. I'm finished. I said, well, maybe add more color here. Maybe do more here. Make it more color. Make it more. I can't see these. I can't see this. Make it so it's more visible. And when they finished, they had a couple beautiful work of art that they had done, and it was totally different from what they had when they started the class yesterday. I just told them, I said, see what happens when you push yourself. You can do more than what you think you can do when you push yourself to do it. And always reach for greatness. I said, just reach for greatness. And that's our young people are brilliant. They're just looking for someone to push them. I had two groups. I had this lady, it's North Little Rock. It's two girls that was in the class earlier, and she said, "Well, when you come, I don't let them come to the class." And she said, "They say you're too mean." And I said, "Well, the world is going to be a lot meaner than I am if you're not doing A, B, C, D."
Yeah.
And so when I go into adults or students, it's a standard. And I don't compromise my standard of respect, listening, doing things you should do, doing activities you should do. I won't compromise that. So I tell them if you want to leave, you can leave. I mean, but you're not going to disrupt what we're doing for these other people. I thought it was kind of funny. To them, having high standards was being mean, which means that they've been in an environment that has not had high standards, and they've been able to do whatever they wanted to do. And what I try to tell them is the world's not like that.
Yeah.
The world doesn't treat you very well when you don't do things that you're asked to do. So I have a lot of fun.
Yeah, one of the things, and you touched on in the book, and I don't really know exactly what your thought. When you got in the automobile business, you said that wasn't really, turned out it wasn't your passion, but it was something you wanted to, that you saw that could make money, and people make those that's the other part is what do you think? I know, and I looked at it from a business standpoint, starting a business and how do that. Is there something different? I know you said you're just 30-year-old and you got out there and you kind of got into a different environment. So,
Yes.
So what do you think in those situations? What do you think you would tell the 30-year-old Sidney Moncrief today that you know now that you didn't know then, and what you're experiencing? Because we know that everybody goes through that situation in certain times. So I just
And what we don't tell them is discover your passion and go for it right away, because you really don't know your passion. Most people don't really know their passion at 30.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes people do, but most people don't.
No.
Yeah. So you tell them just to have solid principles, get better at what you're doing, be resilient, grow and get better every day in everything you do, put forth effort in everything you do. So you give them this, we give them grit, like on this shirt, growth, resilience, intentionality, and tenacity. That's what we tell everybody, every workshop. Those are the fundamentals of being successful. And if you take those in everything you do and just do it like that, and then your passion at some point will come to you. My passion is really coaching and teaching people.
Yeah.
It wasn't really running a dealership, and I didn't know that until I was in my 50s. It took that long for me to realize that. And someone said, well, go with your passion. Well, my passion was basketball, but it really wasn't coaching basketball. It was coaching people.
Right.
And it could have been in basketball, it could have been in entrepreneurship, it could have been in building a team or leadership. A lot of ways you can coach people.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to realize that.
One of the things and we'll kind of wrap it up here, but I was watching a speech that Jerry Seinfeld made to Duke, and it got distracted because of some other issues, but it's really a great speech, and it's talking about what some of the things you're saying. People don't really, he said there's a lot of students that really don't know what they going to do, and they're probably the best students is coming out right now. But it was important that he talked about a discomfort, and that's really what I wanted to get into a little bit. And what I'm doing is sometimes when you have these kind of things like Parkinson's and your personality, I kind of joke about it going a little more from an introvert to an extrovert, and maybe when you're in the Ozarks and you're maybe a closet extrovert because you're doing something with technology and they think maybe you still work CIA and you're running around here and there. So you kind of have people have a different opinion. But when you get older, it's a different issue. But the discomfort level of being around people and trying to change or do things is kind of challenging, because it's a tough situation, as you can imagine.
It is. And I just don't hold myself guilty if people don't succeed from what I say.
Yeah.
Because I give them information. I tell people now, my workshops, I say, if you want to be average or below average, go for it. Right? I'm not trying to, you don't really have the passion to be better than what you are. I'm not mad at you. That's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. And I can't be responsible for someone's success. I am responsible for giving them good information to be successful.
Yeah.
And when people come to me and say, well, is this sustainable? Will they remember? I go, it just depends how good your staff is. It's like, if you have a good staff, you've hired the right people, then this will evoke change. If you haven't, then it won't. That's the bottom line.
Well, I've been going through a lot of therapy, and basically it's not necessarily what you do then, it's what you do when you leave. And it's, if
right.
you don't do those things, then it's not going to help. So
Absolutely, and that's on them.
Yeah.
It's on them. That's their responsibility.
Yeah, and that's what you're saying here, and you can give them some good principles and ideas, and it's really on them to do that.
I don't motivate, I inspire. Motivation, it takes inspiration and motivation to be successful. Motivation comes within, inspiration comes outside to you. But at some point, you need to take that inspiration that comes to you and put it in you and motivate yourself to do great things. And I learned that concept 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
There you go. Takes the pressure off.
Well, and the thing I like, and I guess is, I guess we kind of developed a friendship, but it is really important that you have people that you can talk to, and it's been great to kind of develop this friendship even further, and I appreciate the time you've taken today, and hopefully we could sell some books some places.
Yeah, we'll sell. This book has been doing very well. My best. I've been promoting it more. It's been my best book so far.
Really, I think they're doing a good job of that.
Yeah.
And I really think just the title itself is really something. Yeah, put it out there.
It is. That's the title. Get off the bench. We have ink pens. We have T-shirts, and I just decided this was going to be the book that I promote because it's really the first book.
You're going to have to get some shirts and caps or something. Yeah,
I have shirts, but I don't inventory shirts or caps. Okay. People say that all the time. You end up with a lot of inventory that you paid for. But we'll have caps to give away in our workshops and different things.
Yeah.